We know the weather is central to how you run your farm, so I've caught up here with the Eireann team to find out how they predict the weather and how they tell you whether it's going to be rain, shine, and what you're going to need to do about it. So Paul, I hear you're the person I need to speak to here. Tell me a little bit about your job and what you do then.
I'm a meteorological officer at the Agricultural Meteorology Department in Eireann.
Okay.
So yeah, on a daily basis we're looking at different products we send out to farmers, be it on our website. We have an agri-meteorology section on the website, so you can look at things like soil moisture deficit, the rainfall for the past week and the forecasts going forward as well.
But there's much more to it than just that, isn't there?
There is. We provide a lot of information for the likes of Chagas and research projects that are ongoing. So looking at, say, blight forecasts or grass growth for the milk industry, or different soil conditions and how they're affected as well. So there's a lot of research going on, and meteorology is playing a much bigger part within that now.
It is, and it's becoming more and more important as I guess the weather is starting to change, isn't it? What kind of long-term changes have you maybe begun to notice in the climate and weather here in Ireland?
And that's it. We're also doing a lot of research into climate and how it's changing, how it might affect farmers in the future.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of ongoing research at the moment. But some of the early results are showing that the likes of grass growth days will actually increase between 30 to maybe 50 days more per year.
Wow.
And then your frost-free nights are going to a lot less frost actually.
Right.
Like this past winter was quite warm.
Yeah.
And we need frost for certain elements within the farming community, as well as most people think we don't want frost. We want
yeah, that's important from a disease control point of view as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Germination, a lot of different things there. Yeah. So there's so many different angles to look at for that. But as far as temperatures, again, they could rise between 1.6 to 2 degrees more. That can make a huge difference on what we plant, how we harvest, and what the future is for farming in Ireland.
And it feels to me almost like we're seeing much more wetter weather here. If you remember last year, goodness, this show itself was washed out. Is that something that you're noticing in the results, or is that just anecdotal?
Well, actually, yes. I mean, the amount of rainfall has been increasing, but I think the number of rainfall days are actually decreasing, or will decrease in the future. So we may look at more heavy rainfall events, so very heavy showers, flash floods, even kind of that style. But also more episodes of drought. So we had a drought last summer.
Yeah.
The likelihood of that increasing is there in the models. Now, there's an awful lot of variability within this to look at. So, what happens with that? You have to factor in a lot of different things, and we're constantly looking at and tightening up those models to see what the future will be like.
Brilliant. So actually what you're doing today could become even more important to farmers in years to come. Like, I know in our house when the weather comes on, everybody sits silent and they know that they have to listen, because it's so important to what we do with a grass-based dairy system. But I guess as things go forward, we're going to be seeing even more of your work kind of featuring into what we do on the farm.
I think so, yeah.
Brilliant.
At the moment, a lot of the computer models that generate our forecasts, they're the biggest computers in the world, really.
Wow.
We're looking at the largest computers doing this computing, all the calculations. It's a huge amount of maths in meteorology. So as our computer power grows, the ability to grind that information and produce much more detailed forecasts is going to increase as well. So yeah, there's exciting times ahead for meteorology, but also within the ag community, there's a lot of focus on that and how small, subtle changes in the weather can make a huge difference, and how we can plan for the future. So the likes of blight, for instance, if we can reduce the amount of chemicals we spray and just spray them when it's necessary for the environment as well as saving the farmer in their pockets. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'll have to take a look at some of the information you've been talking to me about in the website and some of the videos that you were saying.
Please too, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Our app.
Brilliant.
And there's lots of new news coming out there. Keep an eye on it. Some interesting things happening here at the Ploughing Championships. So
I heard there were some big announcements to look out for. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Liz Walsh, one of the meteorologists here at Eireann, has kindly agreed to give me a bit of a run through on what this week's going to be like. So Liz, Are we going to need our brollies? That's what everybody's asking. What are you expecting?
The good news is no, because we've actually got a big high pressure slap bang over Ireland, and so the
Super.
so it's actually going to be dry, and I think really the only kind of downside of that is like we might see some mist and fog in the morning, which is certainly a thing that we get at this time of year.
But if we get a lovely sunny day, we're not going to complain. We're not going to complain.
Actually, it's also going to get warmer each day through the ploughing. So
Oh, wow.
Basically, what's happening is like the sun is heating the air, and like each day it's just going to be that bit warmer.
So not just a dry ploughing, a warm ploughing too. And what kind of temperatures might you expect this week then?
Well, I think the top temperature today is around 19 degrees, but like by the time we get to Thursday, we could be seeing 22, 23.
Super.
Yeah, so
super.
pretty good for September.
It'll nearly be flip-flop weather then at that.
That's true.
So how do you actually come to this conclusion? How do you know whether it's going to be sunny or wet or dry or whatever it's going to be?
Well, often it's basically it can depend on the situation. Like so when you have a high pressure such as what we have this week, and the forecast becomes very forecastable. It's like it's quite settled weather. It sticks around for a long time, and it's slow moving. When you have low pressure, what happens is that they can be very fast moving, and so it's very changeable weather, and so that can be sometimes a little more difficult to forecast, and so the limits on the forecast outlook can change depending on the type of weather that we have.
And I suppose that unsettled weather is probably more characteristic of Irish weather, really.
Is.
So it puts you through your paces, I'm sure. It keeps you busy.
Certainly, yeah, we're a small island on the edge of the Atlantic, and so we do get a lot of weather from the Atlantic, and it's basically due to the jet stream. And the way we forecast that is we do use computer models, but also observations. Those observations feed into the computer models, and they spit out the forecast. But it's actually up to a person, a forecaster, to kind of make a judgment and make a call, because sometimes you can end up with quite conflicting situations and quite conflicting evidence. And you have to kind of make a decision. And that's really what a forecaster
And how
is.
many stations would there be based out across Ireland then that you'd be using to collect that data?
I'm not actually sure of that. I know that we have we've got at least 13 automatic weather stations around Ireland, but we also have some climate weather stations as well.
Right.
And we also, obviously, there's people who have their own automatic weather stations, and so we're hoping to kind of, continue or kind of get more information that way in the future, because even if it's not quality controlled, it can still be a useful observation. So it's about crowdsourcing, and I think that's where the future of forecasting goes. The more observations we have, the more accurate the forecast can become.
Thank you very much, Liz. That's a really interesting insight into what you're doing here, your work.